Welcome to the Museum of Aquarium and Pet History. And today, as you may have noticed, we have fishbowl stands. So we're going to talk about some restoration on these stands. It was done by my incredible metalsmith, Rick Gordon, and talk about a few things you need to know about fishbowl stands if you dive into collecting these little amazing pieces of aquarium artifacts. Okay, so this one here is incredibly rare, and I have not seen this one before, but I do have a lighted one in the museum. There actually is a light down here, and which is a bad idea because you have a glass bowl sitting here, so if that is any high wattage, you're going to crack your bowl. So I recommend if you ever find one of these stands to make sure you put a LED light there. Also note that you're not going to shine through gravel, so it needs to be clear marbles or it needs to be just bare. Okay, so this is cast iron. It's very heavy. The guy that I bought it from on eBay had terrible feedback, so I was worried, and I should have been worried because he was unresponsive at all. And when it came in, both these feet broke off because of his terrible packing job. He packed it in small bubble wrap, did not tightly wad any newspaper in it, not double boxed, nothing. This thing is 35 pounds. So it travels through the box as the box is going through the UPS or FedEx. And it gets to where somebody throws it down or the machine goes through the machines, and it just snapped off these very brittle pieces of cast iron that are 100 years old. So you could see Rick actually re-welded them, and they actually put the pattern back in by hand. So that's how talented he is. And then this will go to Lynn, who will actually add the patina back to it, and you will never know that it had a welding job unless you look at the bottom. So that is an amazing stand. Probably Verona, which is Chicago Metal Art Foundry. This also probably is Verona. This is an older one. This one here is, I'm guessing, 1927, 28. This is probably 1920, probably 1927, right in there. Now this one, I had a guy call me on, ask me what bowl does it take. And I'm sure he's thinking it takes the bowl, the normal 3-gallon canteen bowl, which is this one right here. And the 3-gallon canteen is the most common bowl that went with the 1920s fishbowl stands. And see this one here, now I have to actually take it to Rick and have him re-bin these out because you don't ever want metal touching the bowl. And you also want to put felt on the inside of the cradle holder. You don't want metal touching metal. It's not a good idea. So Rick has bent these things out for me before he heats them up. This one here, Rick just did the legs. I took the bowl out this morning and saw that these are touching the edges of the bowl, and these are actually fanned out, and they should be fanned in a little bit. So again, he's going to have to do a little bit of tweaking on this one as well for this 3-gallon canteen bowl. Now, let me just put this here and show you so you can kind of see. It sort of fits, but it's not the right bowl. The original bowl is an Amber 1930s fry glass bowl, which looks exactly like this. I call this the giant round bottom bowl because the bottom is round and it flares out. Rick did have to tweak these a little bit because they were bent in, but once he did, you could see the bowl fits absolutely perfectly. In fact, all the leaves kind of cradle the bowl. Now, I'd still would put a little bit of felt maybe, or maybe the black rubber dots behind this and maybe on the bottom, just so it's not touching bare metal. But that is an interesting 1930 stand. See, they left all the decorative cast iron in the 20s because we had the Great Depression in 1928, end of 1928. And those stands were very expensive even back then. In the 1930s, we didn't really see the figural stands, I should say. We saw more of these Spanish revival type stands, the ones with just leaves and more wrought iron type looking stands. This one does come up quite a bit, and this one does take, again, the giant round bottom bowl. Now, one more stand. We showed you this in an earlier video, and it's possible it's Seville. I'm not convinced yet it's Seville. Seville makes the magazine holder that you see with the dancing women. It may be Seville, but I'm not convinced yet. A little more research. This was a rust bucket. This was like covered in rust, and it was we got this on eBay and it said no refunds and everything else, but I just liked it. And so when Lynn started taking the rust off, this green came back. So this is the original patina green color. And then she touched it up with a little bit of the red that was the original red that went with it as well. Now, I need to tell you one thing about these. These held the 2-gallon drum bowl. Not canteen, not giant round bottom, the 2-gallon drum bowl. Today are made by Anchor Hocking. These are still made today. These bowls you can get from the museum site. We reproduced these bowls about 15 years ago. We only did 100 of each one, so there's not that many of them left. But these 2-gallon drum bowls are different than the 2-gallon drum bowls when this stand was made, because they do an automated machine to make these bowls, and they're wavy on the side and they kind of bow out. So when you put it in the stand, you have to press down. And I can have Rick fix this and he can bend these out just slightly so this would work for this bowl. And that's what you're going to have to do when you find the mini stands that take these 2-gallon drum bowls, and there is quite a few. So that is something that you have to take into consideration. When you get one of these stands, you're going to say, hey, my bowl doesn't fit, or if it's tight, it's because it's not the original bowl. The original bowl was green Vaseline glass or green depression glass, and they run anywhere from $200 on up when they become available. So if you're lucky enough to get the 2-gallon original one, it will fit because it's much flatter on the sides. You can just tell by looking at them. A lot of the small ones come up on things like eBay or whatever, but the big ones don't. The 2 gallons don't come up very often. All right, so that is that. Well, that's it for today, guys, and thank you for coming. I'll see you again next week. Take care.